everything works here today. I believe we are
We are live. Good morning,
here.
Toronto.
Just one second. I'm going to reload our LinkedIn thing here. And it says pre-live. Click to join. This is going to make a little bit of noise.
Not a problem on this end.
All right. We, for some reason, are not connecting here on the amazing LinkedIn of all things. So I'm going to assume that this is live now and
We are.
our tech sorted out. Good morning. Hey, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Awesome. Well, this is our third episode coming out of beta mode of Dotfusion's AI office hours, where we just make ourselves available to talk AI and share what we know and what we're doing, and just the amazing amount of influence and impact AI has had in our business, both for our customers and what we're doing internally. I'm Chris Bryce, the founder person of Dotfusion. This is my super friend Dave, also our lead engineer of all things AI. And wow, what do we?
Yeah, we're doing fun stuff. It's been a good week. We've been working on some interesting projects, and there's been some interesting developments in the AI world. There was an amazing Grok 4 drop this week, which could turn out to be like one of the most powerful models out there right now, and is like really good at coding analysis and has some good strengths. And Chris, as you had mentioned, we have that Replit deal between Microsoft and Replit, where it's non-exclusive, but they're starting to offer Azure deployment services that are scalable and secure right through Replit, and that's part of their deployment features now. So seeing some interesting things in the agentic coding space. Yeah, it's really cool.
Do you want to, the tricky thing for us as an agency right now is trying to meet our customers where they're at, and the spectrum is so wide, from folks just getting their heads wrapped around MCP servers. A lot of the folks that I speak with are thinking that AI is a ChatGPT still, and just this idea of other models that behave slightly differently. They require you to prompt them a little bit differently. And you mentioned Grok, and that is usually the model that folks, Grok and Llama, are kind of like a little bit distant in the hearts and minds of most folks. Can you explain those a little bit, or maybe just talk about this variety of models we have and how you think about when to use them?
I would say that they're inherently, each of them have their strengths, but it also depends on how you're prompting them and how you what relationship, if that sounds normal, you have with the LLM, right? So I mean, and everybody knows that everybody on the same LLM will get different results depending on how they prompt. And there's people who are very good at describing every corner of what they're thinking and can get some really good prompts, and some people just they're giving more vague prompts, and for that reason the models sort of fill in the blanks and try to create a complete picture, even though they haven't got a ton of input. But with regards to the individual models, Claude is really good with coding, and we've got good reasoning, and Grok's got the good code analysis now through Grok 4. But what I'm seeing is that sort of it's like one of those races where you've got one pulling ahead and one going behind, and it's just sort of they're addressing different concerns in every update and gaining strength in some areas, and just I feel like it's just like a massive competition to stay sort of in the same pack right now. But I also feel like there's space for someone to really come in and disrupt those models right now. And just like I said, I was thinking that this Grok 4 launch this week might completely reinvent the model and start looking at mechanisms to prevent sort of bad information from coming into the training model. So I know that all models, that's their goal, is to sort of have as high quality training as possible. But I think that's the next frontier, is how do we use AI to start doing that role within the model training. So Yeah, like there's so many language models right now that if people want to experiment with them side by side, there's actually a great tool called, let me just bring this up here. It's called Black Box AI, and I think this is a great tool for people who aren't sure, because it allows you, you can see here, it allows you to multi-panel and start to bring up different models, so you can play.
I want to share your screen, Dave. I think
Oh, did it not come up? Oh, I'm so sorry.
no, I may have pressed.
Oh, it's actually in the waiting room, I think.
Oh, amazing! Here
There we go. Okay.
Awesome.
So yeah, it just allows you to split screen on these models.
Okay.
And you can select a model and then provide the same prompt on both sides. And you can do this a few times, right? Where you have, like, you're running a few different models here, and you can get an idea, and it has like variations of every model, and really it's quite cool because you can run stuff side by side. So that's really interesting. And I think that if anyone wants to start sort of like doing their own research of how the strengths of each model relate to what they're doing and sort of find that sweet spot, this is a great tool for doing that.
Interesting. So what you're saying is you can basically run a prompt through multiple agents at once, and
yeah, and not only that, not only like run it through and see the outputs, but you can actually watch them reasoning and what their methodology is sort of getting there. So like you can sort of
fire something up there,
see the gears turning. I don't have it signed in right now. You have to go in and do a whole rigmarole, and I haven't got it on the system, but yeah, it's interesting. Play with it. That's really fun. And then the other tool, Open Router AI, and there's this Cypher Alpha. So this kind of blew my mind. This tool is pretty cool because it allows. So this is a free API, first of all. Cypher Alpha is a 1 million token API that is completely free right now, which kind of blew my mind when I was like, what do you mean it's free? And it's really amazing because people are incorporating it into Rue code, which is an IDE for running alongside Visual Studio. And it's a really, really powerful agentic coding environment, which needs an API plugin. And a lot of people are using Cypher Alpha as their free API. But what I found more interesting about this is that this Open Router project is kind of neat. What they do is they provide an API key, and then under that API key, you can change you can change the model on the fly without changing the API key. So why this is good is like from a system stability standpoint, if one of those language models goes down, you don't have to start playing around with your API keys or calling your devs or whatever. You can just go into Open Router, switch the model that the API key is routing, and you're off to the races. So I just thought really cool, flexible API tool for developing anything with an AI tech stack in it, and something that I'm going to be starting to dig into more. But I just sort of wanted to share it with the community because I think it was exciting when I found a free 1 million token API.
That's awesome. Hey man, just to the folks who are listening in now or picking this up later through the podcast or a secondary stream, do you want to talk a little bit about the stuff you're doing, pushing content into content platforms? I know you've been deeply integrating agility and its ability to kind of publish through agility through your agentic workflows. Anything you can show or talk about that?
Yeah, I do have the demo tool here. Let me see if I can get this up, and I'll sort of explain why I made the tool as well. And it's sort of like just like the business case of what I was going after here. So let me just get this up and running. Pardon me for not having this prepared.
No problem. That's my job to make sure that we're totally.
No, there's nothing official about this. It's completely on the fly. No, it's good though. We get the best stuff that way.
Yeah, and this is really the larger idea here is kind of a new wave of using your content platform.
Yeah,
You love agility up here, but any kind of headless system essentially works this way. I noticed Agility had a post out this morning where they've got their kind of MCP server set up and they're doing all kinds of cool stuff. So this is really important for CMOs and marketers and kind of getting their teams ready to be using their content platforms this way.
yeah. And it's
Yeah.
amazing because when I saw that, like a lot of the tools have agility because they built their MCP connections, and people are able to interact with their product so easily now to do these pushes. It's like, I think really amazing things are happening across the CMS space because of these developments. So yeah, really interesting stuff. So I've got this loaded, Chris. It's just in the waiting room
All
here.
right, here
If
we
you want to
go.
sign. Yeah, so this is a little tool that I built. So the reason I built this tool is because we're building a lot of voice agents right now at Dotfusion. It's like this is the next big thing, is like trying to bridge the voice experience into your everyday business experiences, like going to help desk at a mall, or calling into a service to fill in a form instead of having to fill it out online, and just having like a number that they can give. So yeah, so we started building a lot of these demos, but what I started to notice was that I was spending a lot of time, almost as much time, doing all the authoring to get it up, and I was like, okay, now we've done like 40 of these demos. Maybe I should start thinking, if we're going to do another 40, maybe there's an easier way just to get this in there. So I built this tool really quickly, and what it does is it just allows me to go in, create a demo with a bunch of different information. I can put in sample questions, create the demo, and then boom, I get this beautiful demo that comes up that we can pass to clients. It has a nice URL that's protected and no one else can access, and it gives them access to how to try using the agent, but it gives them access to both the voice and the chat agent within one interface. Super easy, gets everybody what they need. And it was just like one of those things where we had a need. We were doing something really repetitive. It was using a lot of time, probably like 20 to 30, 20 minutes end to end on creating each of those pages and getting it all configured properly. And if you think about that, like the 20 times the 40, that's a lot of minutes. It's 800 minutes, is like over 10 hours of work that we could have chopped, because these are 2-minute jobs now. Like I could do all 40 of these in half the time it took me to do one.
Right. And
So
that,
that's yeah, so it's like 80 times the speed, right?
what you're seeing, that was all live on Agility.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Yeah, it's really super cool to be able to integrate this all back, and like we've got all the domains tied in and stuff, and it looks super pretty. It's a good experience, good branded experience for the client. Yeah, so it's something that saves a lot of time.
Yeah, very, very cool. And I wanted to get back to one of your points that you made when we kicked the show off this morning about the partnership between Replit and Microsoft. That's kind of interesting because Replit is natively a Google Cloud partner. Microsoft is leveraging Azure. Just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting deal, and that was the most interesting part, is that it was there was like no competition clauses or anything like that, and what they're just looking at doing is creating options for people on the deployment side, and people who have like enterprise level security needs or already have a stack with Microsoft. It allows them to be developing apps within that space that fit directly into what they're doing within their tech stack internally. So I think it's a great move. And I think in terms of like agentic coding right now, I think Replit is pretty far ahead on stuff. I mean, but like, as you know, the next week that could change.
Yeah, our minds were blown with Manus a month ago. And,
yeah, that's what I was sort of saying too. Lost connection to my camera. Let me do a little testy here. Sorry about that, guys. Thanks.
hey,
All right, here we go. I'm back.
little switcheroo there. Yeah, do you want to just talk about what these agents are? Like, we've never really just kind of broken that down from zero. Like, what are they? What is Replit?
So Replit is a stack of coding coding checkers, like LLMs, storage, memory, and it's an entire tech stack which allows sort of the language model to be building off of ideas and storing ideas and going over to Claude and asking coding questions and getting code outputs and doing security checks on the fly. And there's all these little sort of like micro coding parts of the tech stack. So really it's just assembling a bunch of tools together in a very clever way using like, you know, things like agent to agent protocols and things like this to ensure that the work is organized, the work that the agent is doing is well documented. It has a memory so that it can build on what it's doing. Because the problem with trying to code inside of just like a language model is you hit this context wall and there's nowhere to put all the stuff so that it has a frame of reference to it. So when you're working inside of Replit, you can create storage on the fly. You can, you know, it has more memory to see what you're doing. It has, you know, it's just like a environment where you can start to pour out the ideas and they're not just getting lost in the context window. And also, you know, there's a lot of other tools on top of it. You know, that if you want to dig in, maybe we can do a whole show on like the agentic coding stack and sort of what that looks like and how that operates. But yeah, just from a layman's perspective, it's just an assembly of tools and memory and storage and deployment capabilities and integrations with GitHub. And now I don't know if you saw this week, but you can take a Figma design and you can connect it to Replit without anything. You can just give it the visual design and it will start building a site off of those visual components. So this is cool because, like, you know, agentic coding sort of started from like the command line and having to describe things to the agent, but now like you can show things to the agent and take like the reverse angle. And, you know, that's sort of the part that's missing right now is that user interface side. There are some great tools and, you know, we've got Lovable and we've got Bolt and we've got UIZard and some cool user interface tools out there to develop stuff with AI. But that sort of bridge between the two hasn't happened yet, between the coding and the polished UX UI world. It's sort of just starting to all come together. So I feel like Replit is the best at doing that stuff, even just from text. And if you describe stuff, like really it is like better than most of the stuff that I've worked with to try to get to like your visual end goal quickly. And you can feed it like screenshots and just be like, oh, this doesn't belong here, it belongs here, and it'll like fix it all. So yeah, it's kind of, I think tools like that are like just great to play with no matter what level of user you are. Because it, like, even if you're not going to be the guy that goes the distance using it to like dev out your idea, at least it gives you an idea of what's possible. And then you can find a partner who's like really good at it to like, you know, get you a proof of concept and a MVP. And like you said, start doing some fundraising and see if there's something there, right? So yeah, very cool.
Something that we're really conscious of is the security layer on this kind of stuff. And we were talking a little bit this morning or yesterday, I can't remember, about a friend of mine put a post somewhere about a big fail that McDonald's had using AI, and the kind of swarm of feedback was like kind of finger pointing, going, "Yeah, this AI stuff kind of sucks" or whatever. And I kind of saw it as like, this is just an indication that it's prime time.
Mm-hmm.
Be teething problems along the way,
Yeah.
but this is an indicator that things are moving quickly.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sort all that stuff out, and kind of almost kudos to large organizations for getting out there and trying stuff out.
Yeah, and I'm on the same page as you. And it was interesting. We had lunch with Victor the other day, who's like a very security centric guy, and that's both like that's not either of our wheelhouses. It's something that we're cognizant of, but it's not like at the forefront of our mind because we're so like focused on like the end goal of like what we're trying to achieve that sometimes you lose sight of that like security side of things when you're in the midst of deving out these things, which for enterprise solutions is completely unacceptable, obviously. So yeah, that's something that I think we need to be conscious of, and the industry as a whole needs to make sure that as they're developing these stacks of tools, or as they're developing the LLMs, like now you have privacy mode and all the LLMs where you can like have off the channel conversations that don't train the model, and private deployments, and there's a lot of different options. A lot of places just run their own models internally and train their own models internally and have full control, and that's an option. But I think we're going to see a lot more discussion in that space in the next like 3 months, because I think that's on everybody's mind. But that's not. I wouldn't say that's a reason not to keep going deep on like the rapid development of AI. I would just say that like it's growing pains, like you're saying. It's sort of just like these are the bumps that we're going to hit, and these bumps were the same bumps that were hit when Kevin Mitnick was hacking the cell phone networks and showing everybody what great like vulnerabilities there were. And guess what happened? Sun Microsystems hired the guy, and he became the FBI's most wanted man, to being like the best security analyst in all of America, right? So it's kind of, this is typically how these things play out, I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you. And what we're also communicating and I guess innovating is the kind of the underside of the iceberg of these kind of AI generated models, which is all of this kind of fallback and fail safe operations in enterprise AI deployment. Everything from handing off to phone systems, sending alerts if things go wrong. That I think we've gone from managing AI as you would what do you do if you have a disgruntled employee that has access to everything, to now it's just like a little less mature employee.
Yeah.
But that happened fast, and
Yeah.
3 months from now, it's a senior manager kind of level where it's all examining itself for mistakes and kind of auto correcting along the
Yeah,
way.
that's what I love about it, is sort of even you can use the AI to create that insight on like what you might be missing, and create like a holistic sort of like plan on how you're going to create some of these things that is conscious of those security concerns, right? So I think it's really I am always of the mind, just keep pushing forward, and the people who are like focused on these things like really at the intense level will have us. They'll cover us, and this development will move forward. And I know like internally at Dot, when we have particular customer projects that are enterprise, we take these things very seriously and do a very deep analysis, and we have partners that we lean on to do security analysis. So I think this is just going to be a conversation that continues forward as the AI continues to evolve, sort of.
Let me ask you a little bit in the last kind of section here today. What are you predicting is going to happen? What big change is around the corner? What are the trends that are appearing? What's on your mind?
I don't know. Like really, I get surprised on a weekly basis with everything. I think there's going to be some crazier agentic coding tools that are going to start to come out, because people are starting to wrap their minds around multiple agent architecture and agent to agent protocols, and just like sort of like MCP and MCP servers became like, you know, the new like power connection. I think people are going to start to see these like really well planned agentic systems that you can train each of the agents. And you know that I've been sort of working on a framework on the side that's of this nature, and it's really just the context window and some of the speed at which things are happening that need to get a little bit further. But I think I think we're going to start to see some really amazing agentic stuff. But also with the language models, they just seem to be going back and forth in this war to get there. And it almost reminds me of like those great science, those races in science, like 200 years ago, like when they were trying who was it? It was like the race to absolute zero, and they were trying to attain like getting matter to absolute 0 degrees, right? Kelvin. And like there was this huge scientific race, and people were running out of helium and trying to procure helium sources and da. And it's really interesting because I feel like we're like in that same age right now where the helium is just like certain expert brains, and everyone's trying to rob each other of like hires and and it really is like there's a lot of like really brutal warfare going on behind the scenes with all these different companies, I think.
Like wasn't Elon talking about just like ripping everything apart and almost starting from zero? And I could see the other models doing the same. Like we know a lot now. If we're to rebuild today, and then we've got exponential powers coming out as the outputs.
Yeah, and I think that's, and I think all of them go through this like sort of like growth where it's like almost free or free, and they get what they need to like flood train the model. And then once they have like this valuable data, they're like, okay, now we can sort of like change to phase 2, which is like refining it. And then phase 3, which is like dumping everything and using that model to train the new model, but in a more like curated way, right? So I think it's moving so fast right now. I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, what do I need to do with all of this stuff? And like operationally, like what are our clients trying to achieve? And how do we dovetail into their business operations and analyze things like that I was doing like 40 times over that I could do in like a 1/100th of the time. And I mean, like if you bring like a suite of solutions like that to a client where you have like 10 things that save 10 hours a week, like 100 hours savings per week is like really pivotal. Like if you can save that in labor costs and redirect that to marketing and have someone that was doing that work going hard on marketing and increasing your marketing spend, like it could be the competitive edge that is the make or break for your business, right? So I think it's an interesting competitive time for businesses who are like thinking about leveraging these things and ones who already are. And I think that's why the big players have been so quiet about a lot of the technology that's out there, because they wanted to get there before everyone else. And now you're seeing like some pretty massive layoffs at some of the bigger companies because they've unlocked some of these efficiencies that people are just starting to think about right now.
Yeah, we had an interesting salon session at one of the major banks here in Toronto, and folks from telcos were there, and we're speaking specifically around design and UX. And part of the challenge that kind of surfaced from the conversation is the inability for large organizations to change quickly.
Yeah,
everything's so shut down. Like one of the chats, we were talking to the design team, and they're on Figma Enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
The bummer part about that is with Figma Enterprise, the organization just locks everything down. They can't install plugins, like they can't, so they're sitting there with their personal computers on one side, on their networks, trying to move things forward. So one of the interesting discussions was, what's the risk of moving slow? Someone, and who's to say another bank that's starting from net zero,
Yeah.
with all of the efficiencies and that money allocated to marketing,
Yeah.
how quickly can they get into the race and jump ahead?
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
Yeah. It's interesting. And you bring up a really good point of businesses that are just starting today and engineering their business operations in a holistic way that embraces AI versus a business that's 30 to 50 years old who's trying to pull everyone on the team into a mindset that, like, a lot of the senior leaders don't understand because generationally they're not in the pocket. Like you and I both know the people who know most about this stuff right now are like 25 years old, just got out of school, have a lot of expendable time and money on their hands, and they're able to just like sign up for 10 models and go nuts. And these guys in the office that are like, approaching the end of their career, it's not there. This isn't the stuff that's on their mind. They just like, they have a successful method of doing something. So it's very hard for them to change their mentality. It's an entire paradigm shift within the corporate world.
Yeah, we see that as an agency too. And kind of, I'm one of those people that are on the end part of their career.
I wouldn't say that, Chris. I'm going to drag you for another 20 years. We're going to be doing this stuff, but I would say people like, in terms of leaders who are in your demographic, you're like the 1%. Like you're not only embracing it, but some of the stuff that you like, I've seen you personally produce with AI is like, it's mind blowing. So everyone, who embraces it, there's reward for everybody. And if you want to get into doing a project, or you guys are interested and you're watching us, call Dotfusion, let us take a look. Maybe we can spin something up quick just to get a little bit of like excitement going. And come talk to Chris or I. We're always here to just jam AI with you guys.
Awesome, man. Thank you. I know you're a busy dad, and making time to just share and be open and create community around all of this stuff.
I love it, man. I wouldn't miss it. This is a fun part of my Fridays now, and I always love a good conversation with you, Chris. So let's keep it cooking, and hopefully we get some more audience engagement and some people reaching out to us that are curious about taking the AI leap.
That sounds wonderful. Well, have a great day, and we're going to sign off now, and we'll see you all next week.
You too. Good to see you guys, and thank you everyone who came out to watch today. I'll see you next week, everybody.
Okay. Peace.
Take care. Bye-bye.